Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the Robert Report Show. I'm your host, Robert. Alright, we are 7 days away from the 2026 Daytona 500. Whew, we are counting down this off season. We know we got a lot of stuff coming out from the lawsuit, and as I've done these countdown videos, I've kind of mentioned a little bits and pieces. I'm not following like some people, just every word. I'm just kind of glancing over some things, kind of the cliff notes. I know there was some talk yesterday of Jim France, the way he answers questions. I don't know. I don't remember. Whatever. I know there's some stuff that have come out. Jim France owns 54% of NASCAR inside the family. Why Lisa France Kennedy owns 46%. And I had some people didn't understand that. Well, Jim France and Bill France Jr. were brothers. So Big Bill created NASCAR, split it off into two sides of the family, one son, the other son. Well, Bill Jr. passed away. Lisa is his daughter. So that side of the family, so why I get because you can't have it 50-50, because then you got to have somebody that has majority control. But do I agree with everything NASCAR said? No, of course I don't. Some of it doesn't make sense. But I also look at the other side where, okay, how is it NASCAR's responsibility to make sure another company, which these teams are their own companies, makes money in terms of profit? It's really not. Now, should NASCAR make the agreement, which, again, 13 of the 15 signed, and then in the past, these teams came to NASCAR, Richard Childress Racing, for instance, in an era where if they left, they got nothing. So now they leave, they have the charter money. The fact that we're arguing over millions, billions now, versus 20 years ago, we weren't arguing over millions. Everybody, it's just, we're arguing over money. It's like, okay, does everything cost more now than it did? Yes. Does this car cost more than it was initially supposed to? Yes. Those are facts. But here's the thing, though. What would it cost to build a ground-up Gen 6 car today with today's pricing? Remember, inflation. Remember, everything costs more in 2025 than it did in 2020. We all know this. We all experience it in our daily lives. That's the first question. No one's answered that yet. My second thing is, for Motorsports, they've talked about losing $6 million a year. And I hate that for them, man. I don't want businesses to lose that kind of money. That's crazy. That's monopoly money. But if I'm losing $6 million a year as a business, why would I buy a $29.5 million charter? I'm already losing money. I'm losing millions, but I'm gonna spend $30 million on another charter. Or like he even says sometimes where he doesn't have sponsorship, he puts his son's company on there along with Silvers and doesn't get paid for it. If you're having a hard time finding sponsors for 2 cars, why do you think it's going to be easier to find sponsors for 3 cars? I mean, help me here. I'm not a major in business or anything, but that doesn't make sense. But this is little pieces that I picked up from it. All right, we are 67 days away. 67. I know, teenagers these days. All right, so car number 67. Obviously, making a comeback here recently with 2311, and we've seen it in a few different races. Travis Pastrana, and then we saw recently with Corey Heim there in the Cup Series. 646 starts, 23 top 5s, 115 top 10s, 1 pole. The first race for the 67 was in February 5th, 1950. The last race was September 3rd, 2025. 55 different drivers. Of those 646 starts, 333 was a Dodge, 142 is a Ford, 72 is a Plymouth, 46 Chrysler, 42 Chevrolet, 19 Pontiac, 7 Toyota, I believe those are all with 2311, 4 Lincoln, 3 Mercury and Oldsmobile, and 1 Nash. Buddy Arrington, the most starts for the number 67, 481 with 11 top 5s, 85 top 10s, average finish 18.1. David Pearson, the Silver Fox, 31 starts in the 67, 6 top 5s, 11 top 10s, average finish 14.2. Dick May, 29 starts, 1 top 10, average finish 23.2. Rob Wickersham, 14 starts, 1 top 10, average finish 19.9. Roy Turner, 8 starts, 1 top 10, average finish 17.8. Eddie Becheroel. When I think of Eddie Becheroel, I actually think of the 23 over the 67. But he had 7 starts in the 67, average finish 22.1. On the Xfinity side, 24 drivers, over 59 starts, 1 win, 2 top 5s, 6 top 10s. First race was March 3rd, 1983. Last race was June 14th, 2014. 24 different drivers drove the 67 in the Xfinity Series, and 1 driver won a race. Now, I say Xfinity Series because the last race ran for that series was under the Xfinity banner. I know it's the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series for next year. Elton Sawyer, NASCAR Vice President. 8 races, 1 top 10, average finish 21.0. C.W. Skip Smith, 7 starts, average finish 30.0. Josh Richardson, 7 starts, average finish 39.7. J.R. Fitzpatrick, 5 starts, 1 top 5, 2 top 10s, average finish 20.2. Rodney Combs, 4 starts, 1 top 10, average finish 20.8. Johnny Benson Jr., 3 starts, average finish 40.7. Chuck Brown, 2 starts, the 1 win, 1 top 5, 1 top 10, average finish 20.5. On the truck side, 12 drivers made 35 starts in the number 67. First race was June 20th, 1998. Last race was August 15th, 2025. David Reagan, 10 starts, average finish 27.6. J.R. Patton, 6 starts, average finish 25.5. Kevin Love, 5 starts, average finish 21.4. And Ryan Roulette, 3 starts, average finish 32.0. Now, there was been some driver movement here recently. We found out that Nick Sanchez is not returning to Big Machine Racing. I think I talked about that one yesterday as well. Well, I don't know if I mentioned about Cade Honeycutt joining Tricon Garage in the number 11. The biggest known secret ever, I guess, that was. And as soon as he left Nice Motorsports, everybody was like, what? Where's he going? Next year, a different manufacturer. Oh, wait, he's probably going to Toyota. And then he's replacing, then he substituted for, a Toyota truck for Stuart Friesen. It was like, everybody's like, well, I wonder where he's going. And it's finally announced. So, we still haven't found out what's going on with Corey Heim. There's a lot of stuff still up in the air on the truck side and O'Reilly Auto Parts side. But yeah, as we get closer, again, we are 67 days away from the Daytona 500. We are 66 days away from the O'Reilly Auto Parts season opener. We are 65 days away from the Truck Series season opener that Friday night there in Daytona. So yeah, a lot's going to happen over the next 60 plus days as the lawsuit wraps up. I don't think the lawsuit will wrap up completely. I honestly, at this point, have a feeling, well, I'm just going to say it, no one wins, period. But I don't know if the teams are going to get the judgment they're looking for, but I also don't know if NASCAR is going to get the judgment they're looking for. This is a no-win situation for everyone. Unfortunately, I think there will be appeals. I know Judge Bell's talked about trying to do things where there won't be appeals, but there will be appeals. We all know it. I just think there are issues on both sides. I think they need to come to a common ground. I think NASCAR has the right to make money, but remember, NASCAR made $100 million a year last year, they said. They also own 14 tracks. They also own other property. Where in that other property is that all that revenue coming from? So what happens if they have to repave Daytona? Is that coming out of that $100 million? Or is there something, I'm not really seeing where it talks about that kind of stuff. Now on the team side, yes, the teams all lost money. And I saw somebody's comment. They said, well, NASCAR needs to give them more of the profit. Well, hold on. So you want NASCAR, who is a business on its own, to give other businesses on their own more profit? There's a difference between expenses and profit, and there's a difference between revenue and profit. So if an independent business, all these NASCAR teams, have sponsors. They get money from NASCAR already. They get money from the TV deal. They're wanting more money to spend. But yet you have a team like, say, 2311 that goes out and spends $30 million on a shop, on the Taj Mahal of race shops. Is that actually needed? Does that make the car go faster? The $8 million they pay JGR makes the car go faster, but JGR's taking in $8 million to give some information to them. Okay. Furniture Row went out of business because that $3 million turned into $10 million when they won a championship. So, who's the problem here? You have owners like Bob Jenkins. I'm losing $6 million a year, but I'm going to spend $30 million on a charter. NASCAR needs to give me more money. You have teams like Hendrick Motorsports, 600 employees. So NASCAR needs to pay those employees now. You have, and I don't know how the business model works, but somebody mentioned, I saw one of the comments said NASCAR needs to put a cap on what the teams spend. Yeah, okay. So, just an example. So, I don't think they're doing this, but it's just an example. So, say you cap Hendrick Motorsports. You can only spend X amount of money. Well, Hendrick Motorsports, smart people they are. I mean, I'm not that smart, but I figured this one out real quick. I want 50 engineers. What they say I'm allowed to spend, I can only hire 20 engineers. How do I get around hiring those 30 engineers? I pay them out of HendrickCars.com. So now I got my 50 engineers. I'm showing NASCAR how much I'm spending, but I'm spending it over here in this pile. This pile's paying for it. And then you can manipulate numbers. I mean, we all know that it can happen. Of where those resources are. So HendrickCars.com is paying for 30 engineers. Rick Hendrick Chevrolet is paying for these employees. Or these employees are paid by this company. And so you literally just move resources around. Now all the resources are on the NASCAR side. They're getting paid by other people. The name on the check doesn't matter because it gets direct deposited. You're telling me RC couldn't do that? You're telling me any other team that has other businesses couldn't do that as well? Does the percent of that media deal, let's look at the media deal, need to change? Probably. But also, we need to make sure these teams aren't just spending to spend, because I think they are. I'm losing $6 million, but I'm going to spend another $30 million. How does that make sense? It doesn't. Period. It does not make sense. So we need to figure out, why are you losing $6 million a year? And don't even people come in with comments going, well, the old car costs less. Here's the thing. You only had 4 or 5 people building the old car. They sold those cars to these teams for whatever number they wanted to sell it for. They may have sold to, let's say Hendrick Motorsports was building these cars. They might sell to Stuart Haas at a different rate than they were selling to Trackhouse. Is that fair? No, it's not. But then those teams have a competitive advantage because they know what everybody else has because they build it for them. But anyway, there needs to be some changes, yes. Agree 100% with that. Who wins this lawsuit? No one. But we are 67 days away from the Daytona 500. The 2026 season will be very interesting. I think there will be a significant change in TV ratings, unfortunately, due to this trial. The trial of the century. But as always, thanks for watching my Robert Sports Show. Don't just have a great day. Have a spiffy day. Robert Sports Show, your YouTube leader, sports show content.